The following is a Grayville Insider interview.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Grayville Insider interview. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't say it like our guest can today, but ladies and gentlemen, we have a local celebrity right here. I'm going to be interviewing none other than the voice of SMPW, Aaron Mattoon. Hey, what's up, man? By the way, I just heard you try to announce, and no, you don't do it like that. It sounds like this. Hey, it's time! Oh, a real professional does it. Anyways, honor to be on your show, man. So welcome to Grayville High School, man. You're gaining a lot of fame. And I think there's some questions on a lot of people's minds. First off, how did you even get into the business? Why are you doing this? How did you become SMPW's announcer? Interesting question, man, and a lot of people ask me that, so I think it'll be good to answer it right here. First off, you ask why, and well, I've always loved the wrestling business. You know, I've been a fan since I could understand what was going on, and I was always watching wrestling. But I always found that the regional shows like I'm working at, more localized shows, they put on more of a show than even WWE sometimes, because it's got, you know the guys, and you can actually talk to them. They're not too cool to talk to you. Anyways, I'm getting a little off topic here on that, but anyway, some really cool guys to work with there. But, so why did I get into it? How did I get into it? Well, I just told you why, but the how, well, one time I was about 15, about 15 or so, and Sam Cosby put a message out on Facebook looking for a ring announcer. Now, I had never worked in the business up until this point, but, I mean, I've always, wanted to, and I've done some announcing before that, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So I messaged him, he let me come over and train with the guys, which was a really cool experience, because I'd never seen it work behind the scenes like that. So anyways, I announced a couple matches for him, he likes me. I announced a show over in Evansville, and the rest is just history. Been doing it for a year and a half now. How very interesting. So it's been a year and a half now, and you're getting pretty well known, getting good pops from the crowd. So I have to ask, do you enjoy yourself? Do you like what you're doing? Well, I mean, of course I do. I mean, it's a business you don't want to get into just for money or just because, for something to do. You got to actually like what you're doing. You got to actually want to be in the business. And I do. I have a really good time working with the guys, and I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, so you're enjoying yourself pretty well, it seems like. I mean, a lot of people would like to have your job. So I have to ask, what's some of your best shows you've ever worked? Like, you've been working with SMPW for a while, you've been a few different places, had a few big names in the house. What's some of the best shows you've ever worked with? Best shows? There's a few. I mean, I worked with SMPW for a little while now, and the crowds always get excited, and I loved how awesome the crowds can be. I mean, for such a small show, you wouldn't think they would be as awesome as they are, but let's see, I'll try to think of a few. My first show is definitely got to go down as one of them. We were over in Evansville, crowd of roughly 500 people. It was an outside show. It was hotter than blue blazes, but let me tell you, it was a really good experience. It's one of them. Of course, the big names I've worked with, they're going to produce good shows. I'm going to try to save that I'm going to try to move that for later on, because I mean, you got to have something else to go for that. But anyway, so some of the shows, like just regular shows, we get some guys called the Hooligans, kind of some local wrestlers. They bring in a pretty good crowd, and they're exciting to watch fight. Too Tough Tony, I've never seen anybody get a bigger pop than he gets for our shows. And there's other guys, of course, that get the big pops, that get the crowd going. And I mean, but there's nothing like working in front of a live crowd, a live, really into it crowd. I mean, if the crowd's not into it, you can't get into it. And SMPW's crowd really gets into it almost every show. I really can't pick a favorite. So, I noticed that some of these SMPW shows that these crowds, they can get pretty hot, they can get pretty rowdy, and they can get very loud. Do you enjoy that? And what's some of the hottest crowds you've encountered? Well, to go off what I was saying earlier about some of the best shows, if the crowd's not into it, if you don't have a hot crowd, you really can't get into it yourself. But I'll try to think of a few instances. Like, I remember one, it was Too Tough Tony versus JP Lightning. I was there. I was just getting ready to announce the ending, and this dude just walks up and smacks the crap out of JP, and JP just smacks the dude back. I have never seen a wrestler and a fan get into it like that. And okay, they get onto us about wrestling being scripted, but that wasn't scripted. The dude almost literally got knocked out. we have crowds that get really close and rowdy like that. There's been, let's see here, I'm trying to think of another time here. And there was other times I've gotten some pretty big cheers and some pretty big boos walking to the ring. Like probably the biggest cheer I've had is when we were ready to start the Jerry Lawler show. And when we had Jerry King Lawler there, and we had a crowd of, it's probably the biggest crowd we've ever had. I mean, it was, we packed the house over in Albion, and it was really awesome crowd. I mean, they got really loud when I walked up to the ring, and there's just nothing like the feeling of getting in the ring and the crowd really cheering you on. But to opposite that, the same show, I was getting ready to announce a segment called Coach's Corner, which for all of you that don't know, that aren't in the SMPW, probably one of the biggest heel segments we got there. Bad guy coming out, nobody wants it to happen. That's the biggest boo I've ever got, because I acted like it was going to be Jerry Lawler coming out. Instead, they got Coach. I got booed so hard, and you get a sense of satisfaction too. It's that reaction from the crowd that you derive off of, and that's what's awesome here. Oh my, yeah, I wouldn't want to be involved in one of those matches either. I couldn't do what you do, man. I'm just going to say that first and foremost. You are in the line of fire all the time, and I know I couldn't do it. But anyway, so what's some of the people you've worked with? Like, I know you've worked with some big names. I mean, I've heard a few. I think Jerry King Lawler was one of them, and a few others. Just give me an idea of what it's like working with those people and who you've worked with. First off, can't do what I do. I mean, you either have it or you don't. And I know you said matches. It wasn't really a match, the Coach's Corner thing. Just going to correct that up. But it was still got the crowd booing me there. And I mean, some people can take that right, some people can't. But anyway, so you ask about some of the big names I've worked with. What it's like. Well, let's go down the list here. I've worked with a member of D-Generation X, X-Pac. Worked with the War Machine, Rhino. I've worked with Grandmaster Sexay, Brian Christopher, and Jerry and his father, Jerry the King Lawler. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know. And I've also worked with Buff Bagwell a couple times. Some guys that have been all around the business and have gotten pretty famous. And let me tell you, meeting those guys, it's something. Like, you see these guys on TV, you've seen these guys in matches, and all of a sudden they're there, and you're talking with them, and holy crap, you can't believe it sometimes. Like, X-Pac was absolutely really chill, giving me good pointers on the business, and Rhino, I took his seminar and actually got to do some wrestling, and let me tell you, it's just, as big of a guy that is, he's the nicest guy, one of the nicest guys I've probably ever talked to. He's just, I don't know, these guys are super cool and super awesome to work with. Jerry Lawler, sadly, I wish I could have got to talk to him more, but, busy guy, and it was a packed show, and I just didn't get a chance to talk to him. I wish I could have. He was awesome as well. It's just, I can't explain the feeling you get when you work with somebody that you've seen on TV and famous, and that you've known for so long as, somebody that famous, and all of a sudden you're there working right beside them. It's a feeling I can't describe. So, I'm going to assume you like working with all these famous people. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, who gets a chance to work with names like Rhino, Jerry Lawler, X-Pac? Not everybody gets to do that. But I'm sure with people that you like to work with comes people that you dislike to work with. Is there anybody that you would rather not work with at any time? People I dislike working with. I hate this question because there's a lot of people I like working with, and I like working with most of the guys, and I hate the stigma that they're guys that wouldn't want to talk to you, because no, they are really awesome. I hang out with a lot of them. I mean, they are really awesome bunch of people, but there is, admittedly, as there is some in every crowd, there is a few I'd rather not work with. On the terms of famous people, Jerry Lawler's son, who is Grandmaster Sexay, Brian Christopher, I would prefer not to work with him. Again, he was just kind of stuck up, arrogant. Reminds me of a former student here. I think he goes, somebody by the name of Keegan Reedy. Anyways, yeah, former student here. It's who he reminds me of, and I would rather not work with that, because everything had to be perfect or he was going to be on you, and there's other altercations in the back. I would just personally rather not work with him. And then there's a couple others, like regional guys I'd rather work with. The Viking War Party. I mean, I don't know the guys' names. I only worked with them a couple times. One of the guys is really cool. The others really tick me off to a point I'd rather not work with them. And, there's a few you hear things about, a few you'd rather try to avoid, not talk to, a few that, because, there's going to be ones that like you and ones that don't like you. So, but overall, most of the guys I would work with, I have no problem with many of the guys.
All
All right. So where do you see yourself in 10 years? I mean, yeah, I figure you're going to stick with it. I mean, you're really good at it. You're a lot better than I could do or anybody that I know could do. And you're gaining some fame for yourself. So where do you see yourself in 10 years, or give or take, maybe even more than that?
Man, 10 years. It's hard to think about. A lot can happen in 10 years. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm working with the regional company here, and don't get me wrong, I like SPW, but I hope to get my break one day. I hope to hit the big time. I hope to hit bigger shows. I'm hoping, of course, everybody's goal is to get to WWE. I mean, if I could work with WWE, I'd be gone in a heartbeat. But let's see, where else could I go with this? I mean, there's other companies that I'd like to work for. I would think I'd like to do at least one show with JCW, Juggalo Championship Wrestling. I mean, that just seems like an experience I would like to work with there. And there's companies like TNA, Ring of Honor. If I got the chance to work with them, I would. But like I said, everybody's goal is to make it to WWE, and I'll go anywhere I want to make it there. The only company besides the WWE I'd really prefer to work with is probably New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's company in Japan, and I've always wanted to go overseas to Japan anyways, and to work a show like that for an overseas crowd, I think that would be a really awesome experience.
Man, I hate to take up too much of your time. I know you're busy with the fame and whatnot, but I do have to ask one last question. Do you got any advice to anyone before we go?
Alright, so advice to get into the business. Well, my first piece of advice is that it's going to be expensive, and be ready for that. Assuming you're going to train to be a wrestler, you gotta pay for gear, you gotta pay for training, you gotta pay for a bunch of other stuff. And even just as an announcer, I mean, the suit ain't cheap. You still gotta do a minimum bit of training and manage and whatnot. It's whatever you want to do. It's going to vary depending on what you do, but just be prepared. It's going to be expensive. And second off is to go in and stay humble. Don't get too far ahead of yourself, because even if you've been there for a year and a half, 2 years like I have, it's going to, a lot of guys aren't going to think, you're legit, you're not established there. They're going to still see you as what they call green, see you as a new guy. So the best thing to do is just to keep your head high, listen to the guys that have been there, 7, 10, 20 years. Listen to the guys that have been there for a while, because they know what they're doing, no matter how they seem about it. And just stay humble. Just keep going and stay like that. And eventually one day you're going to hit the big time if you're good enough. Well, man, I got to get out of here. It's thank you for having me here, but I've got to fly. I got a show in a couple hours. So thank you, man.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Local celebrity Aaron Mattoon, the voice of SMPW. You can see him live in action. The next show will be Saturday, March 12th in Crossville, Illinois. Tickets are only $5. Be sure to get a hold of Sam Cosby for tickets.
The following has been a Grayville Insider interview. Be sure to check out Sam Cosby on Facebook and to attend the next show Saturday, March 12th in Crossville, Illinois at the old high school.